Hi, everyone. We're going to get started with the Conservation Commission meeting. I hope everyone was able to find this well. I'm going to try navigating some tech support stuff as we get started here. I see we have a few guests, so let's see. Jeff, are you able to hear us and speak?
I am.
Hi, okay, so your mic is working, okay. Now I'm going to try to see if I can get Beth. Okay, so I'm going to let everyone know that this is being recorded. And there will be a recording posted to the website once we're able to process the video. And there is, I think most attendees should have a question or a chat feature on whether it's on an app or the computer. If the audio isn't working for you for some reason, or you would rather not use a microphone, you can type into the chat box or the question box, and I will moderate those and pass along the questions to the committee or to the commission. So David, why don't you get started, and I'm going to call Beth and try to get her connected here.
Okay, so we will open this public hearing on the file number 154-76, the Jeff Dubé notice of intent for building at the corner of North and Flag Hill. We're opening at 6:40, and I would like to have each commissioner state your name and the fact that you're present. Okay, so David Brule present.
Michael Schaefer present.
Mark Blatchley present.
All right, Sid Scott present.
Very good. So right now we're still trying to bring in Beth Basler. So this.
Hi all. I just got hold of Beth, and she is here and she can hear. She's going to use the chat feature to communicate.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So we've just opened the meeting at 6:40. Everyone has signed in, and the public hearing is now open. My question to each of the commissioners first is that we're all pretty familiar with the project, and I was wondering, we did have a conversation with Jeff, and we did a site visit. So I'm wondering if anyone on the commission has further questions for Jeff about this project. Feel free to chime in, starting now.
And quickly, I'm just going to interject. I see that we do have some members of the public on here. You will be muted until there is a public comment time.
Yes, right. So, Commissioner, anything further?
Oh, I had Mike Schaefer, one quick question about the old foundation that was down at the bottom there. Is that all going to be filled in and terraced over, or I couldn't remember?
Yeah, you can hear me? This is Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I'm gonna take out most of the concrete footings closest to the road and to the little wetland, like a few 6-8 feet away, whatever. And I'm gonna remove that material and we're gonna terrace over, like some of the rubble will be buried fairly deeply, like near the Flag Hill boundary, because there's getting more fill in that area. So yeah, we'll be terracing over it and putting topsoil down, because there's very little topsoil right now. That once the building was demolished, they burned a lot of the debris, and that's kind of how it's been left for the last, oh God, since the middle 50s.
Right.
So that's the plan.
Thank you.
Plants could grow in.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Mark or Sid, do you have any further questions about this project, as Jeff stated the last time?
No, I don't.
Okay. Good. No further questions. And does Beth Basler have anything? Is she on board yet?
She's listening. I don't see any comments from her yet.
Okay. All right. So, there being no further questions from the commission, I believe I could entertain a motion either to continue this public hearing or to close the public hearing.
Well, David, we need to open it to the public comment.
Okay, good enough.
Okay, so I'm going to, let's see. Peter, are you out there? Do you have any comments that you would like to make?
Hi, Betty Lou and Peter are both attending. Can you hear us?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay. I would like to ask one question. I know back in the spring of 2004, this property, the Conservation Commission met regarding this piece of property. And I was wondering what the determination was after that meeting.
Well, 2004 is a while back. I'm not prepared to pull out minutes from whatever we did. My recollection is that we viewed the lower level. I don't recall having been at the top of Flag Hill where apparently the current construction is going to be. So I believe Sid was on board in those days, but I'm not sure of any other commissioners. But my sense is that we looked at the isolated wetlands that are at the foot of the hill there, and that was our concern. I don't recall whether Jeff had actually asked for a determination of applicability or whether we just were looking it over to see its potential. So I really can't be real precise, Betty Lou. We would likely have some kind of record of that in the files, but is there some specific concern that we could perhaps kick around of yours?
No, I was just questioning about the wetlands.
Yeah.
And I know that there is a buffer zone. I was wondering if Irving also has a map of the wetlands in the town?
Well, I'll answer and then we'll see if we have two new commissioners who may not be familiar with all of this, but Sid and I have been at this for a while. One of the overriding consideration is what is called the Riverfront Protection Zone. And the property has been grandfathered in a way. We got straight from the DEP consultant that we have, and he basically said that because the key factor of this is when the lot was recorded at the registry, and it was done before 1996, so they have a clear pathway to build a house.
Okay.
So that, and I believe that Jeff Dubé's consultant wrote specifically about that isolated wetlands. So, and he maintains that it is basically non-jurisdictional. So our main guidance coming from DEP was that because the lot was recorded at the registry in 1996, that there is no further obstacle to building a house on that site. Okay, it's best that I can do for you. I don't recall the specifics way back in 2004, but
David, this is Jeff Dubay. Can you hear me?
yep.
I recall I brought it before I didn't file a notice of intent.
Right.
I believe I came in maybe looking for a determination.
Yes.
And what was suggested at that hearing by a member who's no longer on the board, that he would like to see the contour map with the contours drawn. And since I had just had the property surveyed by a registered surveyor, Gary Lamfer, I hired Gary to make those contour maps, and I included one of those with the applications that you should have. It's the one without coloration on it. And then the second is the revised edition, which shows the proposed site of the home and the proposed new contours. And that's the one that has the color for the unaltered area, and is the yellow, and the red is for revegetated. However, once I had those all done, I just got so darn busy, I never had time to get back to it. So here it is, a mere, 15 years later, 16 years later.
Yeah.
And, I resumed, hired a wetland engineer who assured me I needed to do a notice of intent. And
Yeah.
that's where we are today.
Right.
Is that information public? Copy of what was written, designed by Gary Lamfer?
Yes. Well, no, the survey is, the contours was not registered, as I didn't take it as a requirement, but now I believe, since it was sent to the DEP, the Western Division, maybe David can answer, is that accessible through the DEP?
We can inquire. I don't know, to tell you the truth. And I believe what Jeff was just saying too was the initial step of a determination of applicability was, if that was filed, we should have a record of that back in the town hall. And there clearly was no action taken on the part of the proponent. It probably just, was left to expire. I do remember being on the property. I don't remember anything further. You'll excuse my memory, but our concern would have been the proximity to that wet spot or any kind of construction. But when we were recently there on March 6th at the hill, clearly the house siting is at the top of the hill, although within proximity of the wetlands, which is much, much lower, and that wetlands wouldn't be impacted in our understanding by the current construction proposal.
And this is Mariah. If you guys would like to have a public records request, I can, I still have access to town hall, and I can go in and I would be able to find the public documents that were filed, hopefully from that time and this time, and I could PDF them and send them over if that's something that you would be interested in.
Okay, so I will just write to you and issue a formal request.
Yeah, if you have specifics of what you'd like to see, then that's fine, and I'll try to find all of those public documents, and I can scan them over.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to just be sure in the realm of possibility. I hope they're in the file cabinet going back to 2004, but no promises.
Okay, if not, I can look through the archives. I'm sure that we'll be able to find something.
Yeah. If
and-
Betty Lou interested in the contour map? Is that the specific thing that you're looking for?
What I was looking for was information that Gary Lanfer had done.
Right. So either Jeff would have that, or possibly it could be in the. But like I said, because there was no follow-up, nothing actually was filed. Who knows? Who knows what's there? I'm just trying to be honest as I can.
And so if Jeff is going to be filling in the foundation and terracing where the wetlands are located, does he need to replace it elsewhere?
Well, when I hired Ward Smith of Wendell Wetlands, he came to the property and looked, reviewed the whole property. And by using the plants and other information, soil type, he flagged the wetland areas. And they're on the map that I submitted with this, and they're just a little bit to the south of the old foundation. There's other spots that are just didn't qualify as wetland because they didn't have wetland plants on them, perhaps from either overgrowing or whatever, but so they're going to be completely preserved. They're like say they're next to the foundation, but the rest of it, the plan is to remove that foundation and cover it with something that where plants can grow. But right now, that was the only wetland area that that Ward Smith delineated.
It might be helpful to Betty Lou and Peter to actually see what Ward has described, because he's very thorough, and the Conservation Commission has total confidence in his knowledge and his sincere honesty. So that might be put some fears to rest, because he would not tolerate destruction of a jurisdictional wetland. So we'd have to see what he wrote. I don't have his paperwork in front of me. That is in the town hall also.
Oh, that's fine.
He did analyze the entire site from a wetlands point of view. So you might find that particularly interesting. That was done within the past 2 months, I guess. So that might be even more informative than any kind of a contour map.
Okay.
The wetland, I'm sorry, this is Jeff. The wetland area, the IVW, the inland vegetated wetland, is actually flagged. You can see it from the sidewalk. It's a series of pink flags in kind of an odd shape, like a an irregular shape, and and we're planning to leave everything around that as such. I believe it's like the lowest point in that area.
Okay.
So.
And what about the 100-year floodplain? Was that put into consideration?
It's not.
Betty Lou, that's what I was telling you about. The DEP reviewed the whole thing very thoroughly and said that that consideration would be basically grandfathered because of the filing of the. Jeff, you have any other ideas about the floodplain? And Sid lives right there too, so
Yeah.
Sid can chime in.
I'm pretty sure it's not in the floodplain. The floodplain is further south. But I'd have to check the map. I know we had the 100-foot plain checked when we did the park, the river park down at the former Usher area.
Yeah.
And so I remember in those, it doesn't come up as that far.
Right.
I do have one other thing. The plan book for the survey, the initial survey, is plan book number 120, page 42 at the Franklin Registry of Deeds. And that shows this parcel, and it actually shows a number of other parcels, including, the Mallet parcel and the next neighbor up and the next up and all the way up to the little dam in the brook that the railroad had once built. So in order to survey these plots, I had to survey, everything from this lot all the way up past Carol Lyman's, past, the lot beyond hers. So that plot shows, that book and page plan is the survey that was used for this lot. So you can look that up online. But the contour maps weren't filed because, it wasn't required. I just filed the surveys to register the property boundaries.
Jeff, can you repeat the number, please? 120 dash?
Yeah, the plan book, that's like survey plans, not rather than deed books, and page 42.
So 12042.
Correct.
Thank you.
Plan book.
Get a
Yep.
free survey of your property with it, because he had to survey all the other parcels, because there was so few parcels that had ever been surveyed that there was the only control, as they call it, was the highway boundaries. So there wasn't so much problem with the Flag Hill lot, but the further one up beyond Carol Lyman's, nothing up there had been surveyed except the dam in the Kiev Brook off the east side of North Street, which the railroad put in, in the 1880s or 90s for a water supply for the old depot, which is now the candy store.
I don't have any further questions at this time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, so what we have right now, and someone else can chime in, is we have to make a determination among the commissioners, unless there are no other questions from the public, which I take is not the case. We'd have to decide among the commissioners whether we should close the public hearing or continue the public hearing.
David, Jeff Dubay again. I do have a couple of questions regarding the order of conditions, and I think they're fairly simple. And one is when it talks, it says prior to any work on the site, adequate erosion and sediment control measures shall be installed, et cetera, et cetera. And my ward had said that generally that when they say any work, they mean excavating, because my only thought was there are trees and brush that have to be removed. And, if I put the silt fence up, it'll get ruined, I'll be dropping trees and things on it. So I'm wondering if the word prior to any excavating work, putting that on, it's the second paragraph of the special conditions.
Mhm.
That way, the tree work could be done and you know, without, because otherwise I'd be ruining the silt fence. And
Sure, we'd want to go obviously by common sense. So what the silt fence would, let's say, prevent is any kind of runoff and siltation, any kind of runoff and earth from reaching a wetlands area. If you're just cutting trees and not uprooting, you know, disturbing, altering soil, I would think that would make sense to do what you're suggesting. But so you're just saying you would need to remove trees, but not the stumps.
right, I wouldn't pull, yeah, because if you pull out stumps, you're gonna be,
Yeah.
in the ground. So I'm talking about just, you know, cutting and removing trees and brush.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mike, Mark, Sid, what are your thoughts?
You know, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm okay. So you're gonna add excavation instead of just work.
Yeah, where it says, prior to any work, I would add excavating or whatever words you think would be adequate.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Disturbance of soil tends to be you know, a common phrase, or or excavating. We can clarify that, that's for sure. We have time to do those kinds of things. We have 21 days for Betty Lou's information, and Peters, we have, after we close this hearing, if we do close it tonight, we will have another 21 days before we finalize the order of conditions. And then there will also be a 10-day appeal period if you personally were not, as a butter, satisfied with the orders. So there is, you know, there's a bit of time buffer here for any other clarifications that need to happen. But okay, Jeff, so sounds like the commission is in agreement to change the vocabulary there. So something else?
I did have one other question. I laid out the site using the Board of Health regulations and for the well regulations in particular, which requires a 50-foot setback from the boundaries. My only thought came to me that if for some reason during the excavating process, I was not able to get, you know, put the well exactly where I need to. I don't think this will happen, but it's a possibility. Would I be able to, is it possible to amend, you know, the site as far as where the well would go? As long as it's, you know, not in the wetland or the riverfront areas that are not to be recontoured, unaltered contoured areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if that ever comes up, if people ever need to amend something because they hit, you know, a giant rock or some unmovable object or something along those lines. So this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
Since we're here, Dave, it's, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that they're open, once they're issued, they're open for 3 years while the work is in progress.
Yeah.
So if there was an alteration, say we came along to another project and found a violation, right? Then, you know, you have the ability to amend the project. The person can say, oh, I didn't realize it. I'm going to do this. So I think, Jeff, if in fact you needed to amend it, you would just come back to us, say, referring to this order of conditions that was approved or denied or whatever on this day, this is what I need to tell you about. This is my new change in the process. And then it'll just go by whatever the wetlands law says. That makes sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I would assume that, you know, we would need to make it official, and since the order of conditions is registered at the, along with the deed in perpetuity, we would really need to have paperwork explaining the amendment. So we may get guidance from DP on that, but I would assume it's totally possible to amend the order, especially if you run into an immovable object. So,
right.
Yep.
Right, right.
Okay?
It's
Yes.
not us that records it on the deed, though.
It's what?
It's not the Conservation Commission's responsibility to record anything onto a deed, though.
No, but we would probably have to provide Jeff with the verbiage and the form of paper that he would need to take to the registry, I would think. I'm just using.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree. Right. Yeah. Okay, I'm misunderstanding. I thought you were
that's-
saying that.
No, we would not do that.
Right, I would file the order of conditions, and then at the registry, they generally will reference it. So if somebody were to look up the deed, that, if they were doing a title search or whatever, it would link them to that.
Yeah.
That piece of information, just like if you had a mortgage filed on it or a lien filed on it, that would get, connected, it would get linked.
Good, all right.
And I
I
did
have
have,
a message from Beth to pass along. She said, I would like to add that the property owner provide annual growing season reports of the native species plantings and invasive species management for 3 growing seasons. Since growing natives and removing invasives requires long-term management, I'd like to be sure that whoever buys the house learns how to help the natives thrive. The order of conditions typically runs for 3 years, hence the request for 3 growing seasons.
Right. That was a condition that Beth advised us she would like to see added to the order of conditions. So that is something that we will, before filing the order with DEP, we would change the draft that we have of the order conditions. So
okay,
that has not gone into DEP, and we've got 21 days to do that. So we will have time to change the vocabulary, as you mentioned, about works excavation, and we would add the conditions about specifics on the plantings and maintenance of the plants, as Beth is suggesting. So we'll be adding that.
okay. I actually had
Yeah.
one other question. So on the last paragraph of the special conditions, it says following the revegetation of the restoration area, all the property outside of the approved building and lawn envelope shall be a natural riverfront area in perpetuity. Work within this part of the site shall be restricted to the hand removal of invasive species, the removal of occasional hazard tree, and other minor activities that will not reduce the ability of the area to function as a natural river area. So this would fall upon subsequent owner, right? I mean, if I
Yes.
sell
Yes.
this property, right?
Yes.
so-
Yes, like a restriction.
Right, okay,
Yeah, because it's written, the order of conditions will be part of the deed, and the conditions that we put out are permanent,
all right, understood, thank you.
Yep, okay. Any other further questions at this stage? As I said, I know that these orders need to be amended slightly and lengthened to cover Beth's suggestions of conditions. So we do not have to come to closure on the orders tonight. We have 21 days from when we decide to close the public hearing about the notice of intent. And just again, for the abutters, for Peter and Betty Lou, just a clarification there, we'll take 21 days from the closing to develop the order of conditions, which will be public information. And also then there will be, after the postmark of those orders, there'll be another 10 days if you had further questions or appeals to get in touch with DEP to challenge anything that we might have come up with, okay? So, a lot of safeguards there. So I don't want to take the order of conditions discussion too much further, because we're going to have to probably, with Jeff's permission, we will need time to rework that and let's say, probably vote on it at the next meeting in May. Unless Jeff wants to put our feet to the fire and say, you got 21 days and no more. So that's typically what happens. It's very hard, as you can tell, to pull together a quorum unless it's meeting night. So anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm still got the question open as to whether the commissioners feel we should continue the public hearing because we have a lack of information, or if you feel that we've covered the bases and can satisfy the abutters questions.
I'm fine with closing the public meeting if there's no further questions. This is Mike
Okay.
Schaefer.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay with you, Mark? Is that Mark?
Yes.
Yes. And Sid, you all right?
Yep.
Want to close? So we would close the public hearing tonight. I don't know if Beth has any input there, any idea, Mariah, whether she has something to say about that? No?
Hold on one second. She's wondering if we want to keep it open so that the abutters can review the plans.
Mm-hmm. I'm open either way. It certainly is fair to the abutters if they feel they need time to see documents.
I'm going to unmute. Let's see. Can I do that? Oh, Peter and Betty Lou, you're muted. If you would like to have input on whether you'd like time to review the plans and make further comment, you can unmute yourself and let us know. And Beth clarified, only because town hall has been closed, it's difficult to make some of this happen as quickly as we'd like.
Any response?
This is Jeff. I don't have any problem with, what you suggested about the next meeting in May, if that works out for it all.
Okay, yeah. And that probably would help if we did, well, it's going to be hard to pull together a vote to close this meeting or a continuation of the meeting. So if we continue the meeting, then it's likely we're talking about May when we close it, and then there's another 21 days, but we could probably turn the order of conditions around much faster than the 21 days by that point. But it's logistics right now.
The other thought is, so if we keep this special hearing open, we'll have to repost again for the next meeting, I assume.
Yes.
And we could have a meeting sooner than, oh, I'm being told that I accidentally, there we go. Peter, but you're unmuted now. Did
Very
you?
Can you hear us now?
Yep.
Okay. I'm wondering if this whole thing with the COVID-19 is going to have anything about the 21 days, and if that is going to be enough time.
So
Right.
the rules are changing quickly. I know
Yeah.
some guidance that was issued. I don't know if David, if you looked closely at what they actually changed this week.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
So originally they did not change anything for conservation commissions. We had to stick by all of the same laws that we usually would. And this week, I do believe that they changed some of those to relax them a little bit because towns like us are dealing with not being able to get into town hall or, you know, people dealing with sick family members. And I will look that up right now. I do believe that 21 days has been relaxed.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And I even know with the DEP going online and entering the file number, it does not show up. It's not online.
Hmm.
Oh, and Beth said that since Jeff has agreed to keep the meeting open, the 21 days is moot anyways. Would like to know what the guidance that was issued was, just so that we know.
Well, in some ways, what we have, Jeff is very experienced with the Irving Concom over the last number of decades, as you can tell from 2004. And he's always been amenable to the fact that we can only get together once a month. And so I think that, and he has already agreed to extending out to the first Monday in May as being the point that we could come to closure. So I think regardless of the new directives from DEP, we can still, with the proponents' agreement, we can still keep this open until then. And it might also give Peter and Betty Lou a chance to digest some of the information that the wetlands engineer wrote about the wetlands down there, and also give us time to amend the orders of conditions. So, you know, it probably, according to what Beth had to say, it probably wouldn't hurt for us to have a continuation until the first Monday in May.
That's fine with me.
That's fine with me, yeah?
Okay. I mean, we're trying to be fair. There's no sense in.
Absolutely.
Because we're fine with,
Absolutely. I mean, there's only so much you can do with this virus and everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but we will be placing a request, and when we receive the information, we receive it. That's fine.
That's fine.
We absolutely understand.
So the next meeting you're gonna have is the 1st of May?
First Monday.
First Monday of May.
First Monday of May.
Okay.
Yeah, which is May 4th, which
May.
is also currently when the stay-at-home is going through. It's going through May 4th right now, I believe. And so we'll have to see as that gets closer whether that meeting will be held online or in person at Town Hall.
Right.
I'm imagining it will be online still. And I can also, because I'll be scanning all those documents anyways, I can have those documents on my computer and I can share them as we talk, so that we can all look at them together. Right now, I just have them scanned onto my computer, or I would do that.
You're right. You know, we can also, I'm sure, I mean, I'm very partial to being able to meet face to face, but obviously we can't. But if like May 4th is the cutoff, then there's no reason why we couldn't do it a few days later. You know, I'm sure that people could find the time to get out on a different evening than Monday evening, but that's just
Right.
me.
The other issue that we'll run into is because we have to advertise a week in advance, we'll have to know whether that stay-at-home order is going to be extended by then, whether we want to bank on that. So we'll have to keep on logistics, but I agree. If we'll be able to meet in person, I think that we can. If not, we'll make do with this. And I appreciate everyone bearing through all these changes at once.
Oh yeah, right. So, okay. So I think we're in a good place right now. So I would entertain a motion to have this public hearing continue until the first Concom meeting in May, whenever that is.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion about the continuation until the first Concom meeting in May? All those in favor, please say your name and yes. Okay, David Brule, yes.
Mike
Mark
Schaefer,
Lashley,
yes.
All right.
Beth Basler says yes.
Okay, very good. Is that everybody chiming in? Did we hear from Sid? Probably. There were a couple of voices that. All right, very good. So that's the vote is that we will continue the public hearing until the first meeting in May, whenever that is. Okay. Let's see. We will, in terms of future actions, two things. One is that we need to find a way to work on additions to the orders of conditions. So the amendments and the special conditions that Beth has proposed. So would the easiest way to do that is Mariah, once you and Brian have seen or developed the recording transcript, whatever is required, can you do that kind of a thing?
I think so. I think the way that would have to work, because you guys can't all confer without being in a public meeting,
Yeah.
I think I would probably work with you, David, to draft that, and then we would send that out prior to the next meeting and have everyone edit or approve in that meeting.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, sure. And then at that meeting, we would vote on the orders. Yeah, that sounds good. Any discussion about that? You all feel comfortable with that?
That's good.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, good. Now, this is up for discussion. This is one of the last actions we need to take tonight, is that the minutes. Mariah has suggested that because it was not posted on the agenda, that we probably can't vote on the minutes. On the other hand, there is typically provision for items not anticipated. It might be helpful for the abutters also to see the quote that came in from DEP about the circumstances of jurisdiction over this particular building site, which I included in the minutes. In that regard, unless Mariah, you see some real red flags about voting the minutes that I sent out, maybe you can say whether or not you think we're on dangerous grounds, or whether we can go forward with just voting and making them public.
I'll let you make that decision. I know that when I had talked to Brian this morning, he felt that we could have reasonably foreseen approving minutes, but I'll let you make that decision as the chairman.
Yeah, okay. Well,
My Beth said that she'd like to approve the minutes as written.
Yeah, my druthers would be to be able to do that, since people have had a chance to read the minutes, and then that way it could be another source of information for Peter and Betty Lou. So I would entertain
a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Excellent. A second?
Second.
Good. Any further discussion about that, about approving the minutes as written? Any amendments? Were they all clear enough for everybody? I think it's a pretty faithful recording of what happened. Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of February 2nd, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
That is 1, 2, 3. Everybody chimed in?
Aye.
All right. Very good.
I'm waiting on Beth, but I assume, oh wait, no, she made the motion. Never mind.
Okay. All right. The motion is accepted, so the minutes can be entered into the record. Mariah, at your earliest convenience, you can get those over to Dick for the record, right? Okay, Mariah?
What was that?
Can you just at your earliest convenience, you can transfer those over to Dick, town clerk.
The meeting minutes?
Minutes, yes.
Can you just forward those to him?
Yeah, I can do that. Yep, I'll do that. All right. Any other items that people want to discuss before we close the monthly meeting?
I would like to add just a little time for the next meeting to go through some of the slides from that Conservation Commission 101 webinar I took. There were some good things in there.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, that'd be great because it's a lot of us have not had a refresher for quite a while, so that'll be fine.
Okay, I'm not going to cover much, just a few things
Yeah.
that I remember.
Okay, and we have the tech capacity to do that somehow at a meeting. We have PowerPoint.
I can show those on the screen, yes.
Sure. Okay, that should be simple. All right.
And Beth said that she has no additional comments.
Okay, good. All right, everybody. We'll close the meeting, and I hope everybody is going to be staying healthy, and that will be face-to-face in the near future. So thank you all. Thank you, Mariah, for organizing this, and we are done.
Thank you
Thank
all
you.
so much.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you very much. Thank you from Betty Lou and Pete Mallet. Stay safe, stay well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
and
thank you.
we'll be in touch. Bye now.
All right, see ya.
I said.